Erica Kirk is at the head of Turning Point USA. Because just like I alluded to last week, and which I will double down on now, I believe that people within that company betrayed Charlie. Okay? There were many people, of course, who did not believe me because that just sounds crazy. But even those people, thanks to Emmanuel Macron's strongly worded letter, which he had his legal team put together and asked me not to publicize, are now starting to pay a little bit of attention.
Candace Owens has just shaken the internet again, this time not with political takes or fiery debates, but with something far more chilling. She's claiming that the widow of Charlie Kirk, Erica Kirk, didn't just quietly grieve her husband's shocking death, she ran. Yes, according to Candace, Erica Kirk has fled the United States under mysterious circumstances. And the most disturbing part, it might have everything to do with what Candace calls the buried truths behind Charlie's assassination. In one of her latest live streams, Candace dropped what she described as a lead too big to ignore. A lead that, if true, could blow open everything we thought we knew about the Turning Point USA founder's death and the people surrounding him. Candace began by saying something that instantly caught everyone's attention. "The timing doesn't make sense," she said, her voice calm but razor sharp. How does a widow leave the country in less than 3 weeks after her husband's assassination, while the federal investigation is still ongoing? She then revealed that she received an anonymous tip, accompanied by what appeared to be flight manifests and border records, suggesting that Erica Kirk boarded a private jet from Phoenix to Zurich just 9 days after Charlie's memorial event. Now, Candace was careful to say she hasn't independently verified those documents, but the pattern, as she put it, felt rotten to the core. She went on to describe how, according to her sources, Erica's trip was not spontaneous. This was planned, Candace said flatly. The same day the Turning Point board officially named her CEO, that very night arrangements were already being made for her to leave. And here's where it got darker. Candace said that one of her contacts within Turning Point claimed Erica's team scrubbed travel data, erased internal communications, and even canceled upcoming speaking events using the vague excuse of security concerns. Yet, as Candace put it, if she's running for safety, who exactly is she afraid of? Because from where I'm standing, the only people asking questions are the ones being silenced. In that moment, you could almost feel the online tension rise. Candace wasn't just suggesting an escape, she was painting the picture of a cover-up. She said that Erica's departure might be tied to what she called the chain of silence that's been tightening ever since Charlie's death. You've got federal agents blocking footage, organizations threatening whistleblowers, and now a widow skipping the country before investigators finish their first report. She said, "That's not grief, that's strategy." Then came what she described as the flashpoint. During the broadcast, Candace read out a message she claimed was sent to her by a Turning Point insider. The message read, she couldn't stay after what she saw. They told her to disappear until it cools down. The phrase "they told her to disappear" sent chills through Candace's audience. Within hours, hashtags like #WhereIsErica and #EscapeGate were trending across X and TikTok. The footage of Candace's reaction, her eyes narrowing as she read that line, went viral overnight. But Candace didn't stop there. She doubled down, connecting Erica's sudden flight with inconsistencies in the official story surrounding Charlie's assassination. "You remember that missing doorbell footage the FBI never acknowledged?" she asked. "I'm being told that Erica saw it, and that's why she's gone." According to Candace, one of her sources claims that the footage, which has never been publicly released, shows something that would change everything about the narrative of Charlie's death. The same footage allegedly depicts a person leaving the scene, not the identified suspect Tyler Robinson, but someone else, a woman with long blonde hair and a black coat. Candace paused for a moment before asking the question that silenced her chat. Was that Erica? Now, let's be clear, Candace never outright accused Erica of wrongdoing. What she did was what she always does best: raise questions that no one else dares to ask. She said, "It's not about accusing, it's about patterns. Every time you trace the money, the power, or the people, it always leads back to the same circle." She compared the current silence to the early days of the Epstein cover-up, reminding her audience that they always say it's too soon to ask questions until it's too late to get answers. One of the more chilling points Candace raised was the timeline. She emphasized that within exactly 8 days after Charlie's passing, Turning Point's financial structure had already been reorganized, accounts shifted, signatures changed, and donor access restricted. She said, "I've been in this movement for over a decade. Nothing moves that fast unless someone wants it that way." Then she dropped a detail that stunned even her regular followers. Erica Kirk's lawyer, who negotiated her appointment as CEO, was previously employed by a defense contractor with government ties. "You're telling me that a conservative nonprofit somehow hired a national security lawyer to manage a widow's promotion? Make that make sense," she said, her tone dripping with disbelief. By this point, the chat was exploding. Candace leaned in and lowered her voice, almost whispering, "You don't flee your home country unless you know something big is coming." She suggested that Erica's move to Europe might not be about fear, but about leverage. If the truth comes out and she's sitting in Switzerland or Romania, she's untouchable, Candace said, and if she's holding evidence, that's the perfect bargaining chip. To end the segment, Candace looked straight into the camera and said what would become the viral line of the night. "If you think this is just a widow grieving, think again. This is chess, not checkers." And just like that, the theory of Erica Kirk's escape trance formed from an internet rumor into the next major chapter in the unraveling saga of Charlie Kirk's death. But this was only the beginning. Because what Candace revealed next about the people allegedly helping Erica leave the country, and the money trail that followed, might just explain why Turning Point's silence suddenly makes perfect sense. When Candace Owens said, "No one leaves the country that fast without help," she wasn't exaggerating. The second part of her investigation tore through the internet like wildfire. Candace claimed that Erica Kirk didn't vanish alone. She had an entire network of insiders, operatives, and money movers working quietly to get her out of the country before the story could unravel. And the trail, according to Candace, starts right inside Turning Point USA. She began this section of her expose by replaying a small clip from a live stream she hosted 2 weeks earlier, one that many viewers had overlooked at the time. In that clip, a caller using a distorted voice claimed to have worked with Turning Point's logistics team. The caller said, "The order came from upstairs. We were told to secure transport for someone under special clearance. Private jet, non-commercial route, minimal customs interaction. We didn't know who it was for, but the initials matched." When Candace played that line again and zoomed in on her notes, you could see the letters E, K scribbled across the page. "This isn't speculation anymore," Candace said, leaning forward as her tone dropped into that familiar, controlled intensity. "Someone used Turning Point USA own logistics department to coordinate a private flight for Erica, and the instructions, according to my source, were signed off by a board member." She paused before saying, "Guess which one?" Her audience exploded with guesses in the live chat, but Candace didn't name anyone directly. Instead, she said, "Let's just say this, it's someone who used to be very close to Charlie. Someone who benefits the most from Erica's silence." From there, Candace described what she called a funding shadow. According to her, after Charlie's death, a series of unusually large donations began pouring into Turning Point's secondary accounts. These weren't the typical small, dollar donations from grassroots conservatives. These were foreign wire transfers, multiple 6 six-figure deposits from shell companies registered in Cyprus and Romania. Every single transaction happened between the 10th and the 18th of September, she said. And then suddenly, Erica Kirk's name appears as CEO on the official paperwork dated the 18th, same day, same money, same people. She went on to say that one of those companies, listed simply as Carpathia Holdings, shares a business address with a defense consultancy tied to NATO procurement contracts. I don't know who's writing these checks. Candace said, but if it walks like intelligence and talks like intelligence, maybe it is intelligence. Then, almost as if anticipating the backlash, she added, call me a conspiracy theorist all you want, but I'll take that over being a liar. Then came what viewers now call the airport revelation. Candace played what she described as leaked security footage from an unnamed private airfield in Nevada. The timestamp read September 18, 2025. The video showed a black SUV pulling up beside a small jet. A woman stepped out tall, blonde, wearing a hat and scarf, followed by two men carrying luggage. Candace claimed she couldn't confirm that the woman was Erica Kirk, but pointed out something unmistakable. One of the men beside her was recognized as a Turning Point security coordinator. That's not random, she said. That's payroll. In her next breath, Candace tied this to an even deeper thread: the role of federal agencies in looking the other way. She cited two whistleblowers, both claiming that federal agents were ordered to stand down from following up on Erica's travel documentation. They said it was a private citizen issue, not a federal matter, Candace explained. But when a person connected to a national political figure leaves the country mid-investigation, that is a federal matter. She leaned closer to the camera and asked, so who told them to back off? That question sparked what Candace called the domino effect. Within 48 hours, several conservative commentators began quietly echoing her suspicions. A few even admitted off record that Turning Point's internal leadership had become unreachable since Erica's disappearance. Donors were being ghosted, staff were told to pause communications, and Candace, with her characteristic defiance, called it what it looked like: damage control. She then shared another chilling anecdote. A friend of Charlie's family reached out to me privately, she said. He told me something that hasn't left my mind since. He said, Charlie warned us about this. He said if anything ever happens to me, don't trust the first people who come to replace me. Candace let that line hang in the air. Those were Charlie's own words, written in a message days before he died. The deeper she went, the stranger it got. She claimed to have obtained a copy of an internal Turning Point memo labeled Asset Transition Protocol. It detailed the exact process for transferring media rights, financial assets, and donor lists to the new leadership structure. The memo was dated September 12th, just 2 days after Charlie's assassination. Candace read the first line aloud. All communications regarding leadership transition must remain confidential until public statement approved. She looked up from the paper and said quietly, you can't plan a transition 2 days after a tragedy unless you were already planning it before. At that moment, thousands of viewers flooded the chat with disbelief, anger, and panic. But Candace wasn't finished. She drew a connection between Erica's sudden rise and her Romanian background, suggesting that there might be more geopolitical influence here than anyone realizes. She noted that the same day Erica's flight landed in Zurich, a private account linked to Carpathia Holdings received another transfer, this time from an Israeli defense consultancy known for media influence operations. Now, maybe it's a coincidence, Candace said, or maybe it's what it looks like, a payoff. Her closing words were haunting. They said Charlie died for the movement, but maybe he died because he questioned who was running it. She paused, eyes fixed on the camera. If Erica's flight was an escape, it wasn't from danger, it was from discovery. The screen faded to black with the words Part 3 coming soon. But even before Candace's next broadcast, something else began happening. Messages started leaking, screenshots surfacing, and one anonymous email that claimed to reveal the real reason Erica fled the country. A reason that, according to Candace, changes the story forever. When Candace Owens returned to the screen for what she called the most dangerous broadcast of her life, the world was already waiting. Her last two segments had shaken the digital landscape, millions of views, countless debates, and now one question echoing everywhere. Why did Erica Kirk really run? Candace appeared that night in front of a dimly lit studio, her tone sharper than ever. No intro music, no graphics, just her voice cutting through the silence like a blade. Tonight, she began, "I'm not talking about theories, I'm talking about proof. Proof that Erica Kirk's escape wasn't about grief, it was about survival, not from danger, but from exposure." She raised a single sheet of paper. What you're about to hear came from someone inside the system, a person who risked everything to leak this to me. Her words hung heavy. This isn't a rumor. This is a document. A letter written by Charlie Kirk just 48 hours before he was killed. According to Candace, the letter was never meant to be public. It was addressed to a close friend, stored on an encrypted drive, and discovered only after an anonymous courier delivered copies to her home. She began to read it slowly, her voice trembling just enough to feel real. "If anything happens to me, don't believe what they tell you. The project is bigger than politics, and I finally know who's been running it from the shadows." I trusted her. That was my mistake. Candace looked up. Those last three words, "I trusted her," that's the key. She then displayed what she claimed were internal memos between Turning Point's financial team, showing that months before Charlie's death, nearly $2 million had been quietly redirected from donor accounts into what was labeled as European operations. The signature at the bottom of each authorization, E. Kirk. "Now you tell me," Candace said, "does that sound like a grieving widow or a co-architect of something much larger?" Then she dropped the real bombshell. Erica wasn't running from danger, she was running with something. According to Candace's source, Erica had in her possession a digital drive containing encrypted communications between high-ranking political figures and undisclosed foreign entities that Charlie had apparently uncovered right before his death. He wasn't assassinated for his politics, Candace said. He was eliminated because he found out who was funding them. The live chat froze. Thousands of comments poured in within seconds. "Are you saying she's working for them?" one viewer asked. "I'm saying," Candace replied, "she's holding the receipts, and that's why they got her out before the feds could." Candace then revealed a chilling timeline. 3 hours before Charlie's murder, she said, a private encrypted message was sent from his phone to Erica's. The message read only one word, "run." Investigators had dismissed it as a random fragment, but Candace's team used metadata tracing to prove that message had been deleted and sent through a secondary app tied to an overseas server, one used by private contractors. Charlie was warning her, Candace said, but not because she was innocent, because he knew the fallout was coming. She went on to show a still image, a blurry security capture from a hotel lobby in Zurich. A woman resembling Erica was seen meeting with a man later identified as a foreign financial intermediary. Candace's analysis suggested that this meeting took place just 2 days after Erica landed in Europe. This wasn't an escape, it was a handoff, she said, and then came the twist no one saw coming. Candace claimed that in that same encrypted drive Erica allegedly carried, there was evidence linking Turning Point's largest donors to defense technology firms, the kind that profit during political chaos. Charlie was building a movement, Candace said, but someone else was building a business off his name, his face, and his death. She leaned closer to the camera, voice low but steady. The same people who praised him at his funeral were negotiating contracts in his absence, and Erica, she knew everything. But Candace didn't end with accusations. She ended with a warning. You can hide behind money, you can hide behind power, but truth has a way of clawing its way back to the surface. Her final words echoed like a prophecy. If Erica Kirk thinks she's safe overseas, she's wrong. Because the story doesn't end with her escape, it begins with her return. As the screen faded to black, an image appeared, a single envelope stamped with the initials C.K. and the words Project Liberty. Within minutes, Candace's followers flooded social media with theories. Some said Project Liberty was a secret political network Charlie had discovered. Others believed it was a coded message left by Erica herself. But the most haunting speculation came from a single anonymous post on a deep web forum, which read, "Erica didn't flee to hide the truth. She fled to finish what Charlie started." The comment vanished within minutes, but by then, it was too late. The fire was already spreading, and Candace, she promised one final episode. Next time, she said in her closing line, "I'll show you the faces of the people who built this machine. And when I do, there will be no coming back."